I've spoken to more Chelsea players this week than I've had in my career.
Yeah.
From players that, people like Dennis Wise, I spoke to Scott Minto, Andy Townsend, and many, many others. I've spoke to so many ex-Chelsea players, because of what had happened this week with Liam and where the club was and the performance of Brighton, which was, I think, we exaggerate a lot, don't we, in this business? We say it's one of the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think you can argue against that.
Mm-hmm.
What I saw on Wednesday night, alarm bells, WhatsApp messages coming in. What the hell is this performance?
That for me was a performance where the players got the managers the sack.
I don't disagree with you at all, Shaban.
Yeah.
I think you're 100%.
Which is a disgrace, by the way.
Well, it lacked everything. There wasn't one thing. I mean, you can start the game badly and 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes into the game, you're 1-0 down. Okay. But from that moment on, the response by the players was just everything about it, everything from how disorganised they were, the disconnect in the team. And I just came away thinking, wow, if ever I had to show someone how this can go so badly wrong for a team that was club world champions until, and had a decent enough season last year.
Yeah.
So what I saw on Wednesday night was extraordinary. And very, very worrying for the long-term project, whatever that is at Chelsea, because no one can quite make it out.
Yeah. I mean, it was a real shame. It's Callum McFarlane who comes back in again. He obviously took charge of 2 matches between Maresca being sacked and Liam Rosenior coming in. So he'll step up again for tonight. Against Leeds, tomorrow night against Leeds, who had a brilliant. No, it's tonight, isn't it? It's tonight, yeah. No, it's tomorrow night.
The Man City today, isn't it?
Yeah,
Southampton.
It's a strange old time, that is for sure. And then last night, because I was here with Ray Parlour yesterday, we were talking about Sunderland Forest. And Sunderland, they were on the beach, smashed 5-0.
I mean, look. Chris Woods has come back into the team. Morgan Gibbs-White's found his feet again. Elliot Anderson is the player that a lot of people already know. He's a terrific footballer. And you got players like Izes, who's up front, who looks way more lively than I think when I first saw him, but is a great asset to the... And it was a great performance. And, yeah, Sunderland were nowhere near it. And it just shows you if you drop any level at all or you're complacent, you pay a really heavy price. And that's what happened last night.
Yeah. I mean, Forest, you would say they're kind of guaranteed. They are guaranteed safety now.
No, not necessarily. If Tottenham or West Ham go on any sort of run, that could, Tottenham have got 15 points to play for. Shaban.
Yeah.
Now, do I think they'll get 10? No, because they've shown nothing like they look like a team that can. But say if they did, and say if West Ham got in their final 4 games, because I think they got 1 game less, and then West Ham turned a return of 8 points from their 4 games. That would put a lot of other teams in a bit of an issue.
Yeah, brilliant though. Brilliant run into to this stage of the Premier League, that's for sure. It's another massive weekend of football. Crucial games in the Prem, as we mentioned, the EFL, the National League, and of course it's FA Cup semi-final weekend on talkSPORT. Well, Chelsea fans, where are you at now? I mean, considering Leeds are buoyant and absolutely on one, feeling themselves, they've got momentum on their sides. And this is classed as the dirtiest game in football as well, Chelsea Leeds. You're going back to the 70s. Spoke to Eddie Gray yesterday. He said that was a game.
I know. Well, I obviously, Jack Charlton I played under for Leeds, and I also played under David Webb, who's in the newspapers this morning, which I'm sure Sam will pick up on. And David Webb was as tough as old boots, by the way. I mean, seriously tough. And then I played under Jack, and I know that. And you could name probably 6-8 players from each side. You didn't want to mix with too much. And that game, they refereed that game. And they reckon that there'll be like only about 8 or 9 players left on the pitch.
Yeah, they said 6 red cards. It would have been.
Yeah.
No.
Well, maybe even more.
And 20 yellows. It was something like that.
Yeah, it was. It's crazy numbers. But yeah, it's not the football we see today.
I'd like to see it. I wouldn't mind.
Well, I've seen it. I've seen, not the whole game in its entirety, but I've watched the game in, highlights of it, and it's bonkers. And you just see one challenge after another that is, seriously dangerous.
Yeah. I know that there's and there's some of it is just is dangerous, and you could end careers, and nobody wants that. But just that element of physicality coming back.
Well,
I think we'd all welcome it, Cass. It's so far gone, but we'd all welcome that physicality back.
Yeah, Shaban, look, there's black and white, isn't there? is black right, is white. You gone too far the other way.
Yeah, but
there's a
there's
middle
shades of
ground
grey.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
The middle ground, and there'll be people that really miss the physical side of the football. I do. I played in the 80s and 90s. Okay, the 80s was way worse than the 90s. It started to get sanitised with new laws, and rightly so, protecting players. It's what you want to do. But how far does that line go? I would argue it's gone too far now. Now we're seeing fouls being given that are ludicrous.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that side of the game? No, because I think if you eventually get to a place where basketball had this exact issue where, I know comparing basketball, but they literally, even if you touch somebody, that's a foul. We're not far off with that in football, are we?
Yeah.
If you touch them, especially with your arms, and you put a hand on a back, and the player just goes down, that's deemed a foul and might even get a yellow card.
You're right. It's just gone so far the other way.
Yeah.
We're also
So
over.
there's a line in the sand somewhere.
Speaking of going so far the other way, I mean, you look at where Chelsea were with Enzo Maresca and where they are now, having Liam Rosenior departed the club. What is next for this club?
Can I just say a thing on Liam, because something struck me in midweek about this, is that I feel for him. I think that he's learned, and there's also an opportunity further down the line, I'm sure, that Liam will reappear. But one thing I think he got, and this comes from my Marseille times, is when you speak to your players in the dressing room, and it's slightly confusing, and there's many different languages. Now, some people in the dressing room will speak really good English, and others won't.
Yeah.
And when he was doing some of his, data gathering and the process, and I'm thinking, how are you relaying this to your players? Are they, some of them, confused? Because I remember at Marseille, me asking questions to a guy called Michel de Wolf, who's an international who spoke French and English really well. And I would say, when I first got there, I was like, what did the manager say? And he'd tell me, he'd repeat it to me. And then there'd be times further down the line, he'd say, don't know what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that was a Liam Rosier. It's a bit like A Life of Brian, blessed are the meek and all that. And the meek, they've had a hard time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where you're not getting that over the language barrier. So when you're confusing or giving instruction, and some of the players in there don't get it, you can lose a little bit of respect. Now, Liam made a lot of mistakes, clearly, on his lineup, his formation, and also, I think, with the handling of Enzo Fernandez and others, because I just think he got a lot wrong, and he didn't. I mean, I thought he was fortunate in his early games at Chelsea because he made changes, they won the game.
Yeah.
But when it got to when he made changes and made them worse, then it was compounded, and you can't score a goal, and you're conceding lots. So I think he made a lot of mistakes and wasn't ready for the job. That's not on him. That's on Bluecoat. He wasn't ready for that type of job. A team that, has been challenging at the top end of the table, best part of Wembley, 2.5 decades now. Yeah. So hopefully he'll get another opportunity, but he would have learned a lot, and you need to learn fast in management.
Yeah. Good luck to him.